Hi, guys, and welcome to the Unspun Yarn. And I have my special guest tonight, Sanrixian, Mother of Drawgons. And she and I are going to spend the next infinity talking about
Yup.
talking about our favorite dragons. So, glad to have you, Sanri. Thank you for the 17-page document that you threw together in 5 minutes because you're like the the expert on dragons in the fandom. So
I do love dragons so much. You guys all know how much I love dragons and how I'm always like talking about their colors and arguing about their colors and their scales and everything. So I'm the keeper of that knowledge, and I have with me today Miss Fat Walda. Her original name was Walter because I thought she was a boy. So now she's Fat Walda because she gained a lot of weight recently. But she is already sick of being on my neck, and I knew this was going to happen. She's not fully trained to be a good neck snake, but my next good neck snake, Hera, is being a crabby little hungry B word right now. So she has to stay in her tank.
How about your little dragon?
Moon? Yeah, he's in the other room. He will not sit on my shoulders at all. Like he wants to run around. It's his bath time after the stream too, so he'll get his daily exercise. Yeah,
It's his bath time.
It's his bath time. I have a Chinese water dragon, is what Nessie's talking about. Originally didn't know the gender, so we were gonna call it Rhaegal or Sunfire or Moon Dancer. Actually, so it was gonna be Moon Dancer. There we go. That's my green dragon. I know Aswath. What are you talking about? And
Aswath.
Do you even read the books? Oh, there are books. Yeah,
there's books.
So I'm gonna put the snake away real quick. 1 second.
All right. Well, I'll try to entertain these fine people out here. So, guys, Sammy, I'll get started here, and we're going to talk. When she gets back, go ahead and start. My love for dragons and all things dragons started probably when I was about, as soon as my grandmother could read me a story, because she had like the little collection of all of the Disney books, and my favorite was Sleeping Beauty, because like right at the very end you get the Maleficent's transformation into that giant, just badass dragon, and I always thought, oh, that is so cool. I couldn't wait to get to that part of the story.
Man, are you talking about Maleficent? I still haven't watched the movie because the cartoon, or the new movie rather, the remake, the cartoon was so precious to me. When we went to Disney World, my dad likes to tell everyone that I went through this entire like room full of stuffed animals looking for Maleficent as a dragon, and they did not have one.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So me too. I love it. Just from that's one of my earliest childhood memories, was going to see it in the theater. Because Mom would take us to see all the Disney movies when they came back. So yeah. So we would always see all the Disney movies. So that was like the initial imprint of dragons on my brain. And then like in school, I was we had my reading class in like first grade. We were reading The Hobbit. And so yeah. So then we get to the part, about Smaug and going into his cave and trying to sneak past him, and then the giant horde and everything. And the dragon was with his one little vulnerable place was on his abdomen. So them being so magical and invulnerable, and like he could see right through all of the glamours and things. So
yeah,
how powerfully magical they were.
Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Sanri? What twerked your gig?
What twerked my dig? Well, it's really I don't really know the origin of how I came to love dragons, but I know I've always loved them for as long as I can remember. I loved dinosaurs. I thought I was going to be a paleontologist, like a lot of kids did. Yeah, a lot of science nerds. Of course, I loved learning about different cultures and stuff in school. I was always fascinated by the imagery. I think it's something about a beast that doesn't have any rules, quote unquote. We'll get to the rules later, guys. Don't worry.
We'll get to that. Yeah,
we will get to that. But I think there's something about having like a fantasy creature that nobody can tell you it's wrong. So as a kid with low self-confidence drawing dragons, my mom has like the first one I ever drew around age like 5 or 3. It's awful. You don't want to see it. But I've always been into them. I'm trying to think of other things. Oh, I was going to mention Michael Whalen. He did the book covers for not only the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, but also the Dragon Riders of Pern. So those are iconic. I used to go to the library because we were super poor growing up, and mom would let us get a bookmark for like 95 cents, and I got like 15 dragon bookmarks, and I actually read A Song of Ice and Fire using all of those dragon bookmarks because I still have them somehow.
So sweet.
Yeah, those had a lot of Michael Whalen's art on them, and he's a fantastic artist. I got to meet him once, and he liked my tattoo, and I was just like, oh my god, like, you're the reason I draw dragons, dude. Like, and he commented on our fine grocery store sushi in Kansas City, so it was really sweet. Another thing that I just really loved was Dragonheart. That movie like changed my life, I think.
Yeah, Connery is forever a dragon for me. He is always going to be the voice of a dragon.
He is, yeah, and I mean, he was a great choice to do that role. And it's I've watched it again, like now, being a CGI 3D animator, and it still holds up pretty damn well considering when it was made.
Yeah,
and
30 years old.
Yeah, I've got dragon toys everywhere, always have. Here's a little Rhaegal. See if I can make him fly. Whee! There we go.
Well, I mean, I have my little I've got my little piggy dragon.
Oh my god, it's like a little chubby. Oh, I love him. Oh my god,
I love it. It's my favorite thing.
It's so perfect. I love it. Steven says he wants to see that old drawing. Steven, you saw the one from when I was like 13 that I shared in some Slack sometime. I don't remember. But I think Nessie has it in our chat here. So let me scroll back and I might be able to pull really old dragon art.
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
Oh my god, it's so
almost the title card, guys. This was almost the title card.
Where is it? Jeez. 1 second. No AGV. I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm talking about dragons.
Talking about dragons. So, yeah.
It's not shown up for me, babe. I think our history got slammed. It's probably on my phone somewhere. But anyway,
so if you're part of the Here Be Dragons Slack or the Joe Magician Slack group, after the stream, we will post that ancient art of Sanrixians.
I made my mom go into my basement and take a bunch of photos of my old artwork because I wanted to make this Twitter post, which I have yet to make because she hasn't gotten me the photo of the dragon, the first dragon I ever drew. But I wanted to make a Twitter post to inspire people about growth because, as I was telling Nessie, the title card for this is Vermithor. I drew it in probably like 2015, 2016. It's a watercolor painting. It looks horrible to me now. Any work that's older than a year for me is just like, oh, I don't care.
That's just you being critical, Sandra.
Yeah, that's me. I'm hypercritical.
I mean, that artwork is so freaking gorgeous, and like we were saying, I was telling you earlier, it's different from what you normally post with your digital art because it is a different medium.
Yeah,
watercolor just softens all the little edges and brings out that iridescence of the dragon scales. And it's so gorgeous. And I'm like, I'm going to print this and hang this on my wall.
I can probably send you the original painting if I can find it.
Oh my God, I would love that. I will like tons of money for that because it is worth it. I want it. Yeah. So speaking of our Slack groups in various and sundry areas of the world, we've had a few questions come in from the Here Be Dragon Slack. And I thought we could go ahead and start with those first.
Okay.
So the head of the dragon, the big guy himself, Stephen. So
He
of course,
is.
yeah,
He's the
he's like
main
my
head. Your
he's like
guys are Hydra.
yeah. He's the Aegon of our little holy trinity here. So
I think that makes John Visenya. I know you want to be a Visenya, but
okay, between the two of us, okay, I could probably take John in a fair fight.
oh, I
Okay,
know. I think I could too, and I'm 5'2". I'm sorry, John. I love you. I
I
just
love
love
you, John. It's only because I know you wouldn't. You just couldn't
Visenya.
even possibly, lay a hand on either one of us, and you would just let us beat you up. But
We would
I
never
think
do
just
that.
me, I like to punch people in the throat. That's like my go-to, and I don't know if John would do that.
No, I don't think so. So anyway, Steven's question, Nessie.
Okay, Steve's question was a current theory regarding the origin of dragons across culture. When we, humans, first evolved, we were subjected to predation by three main animal types: large birds, large snakes, and large cats. A dragon combines the dangerous, noteworthy aspects of these animals. Also, uncontrolled fire is dangerous. It serves as a warning against most dangerous things, and it comes from a pre-societal time, perhaps even as far back as pre-African Exodus. At some point, however, in the East, they became associated with rivers, and the role changed. They weren't held in fear as much as awe, smarter and wiser, still dangerous, still powerful, but less predatory. This might be because of fewer natural predators in that region. Whew, okay. And tigers becomes a symbol of the apex predator, perhaps due to the absence of large snakes and birds. The debate over how many legs is still ongoing. Thoughts?
Have them.
Of course we do. I mean, that's. Thank you, Stephen. And there's more to this. There's like a question. That's like a paragraph. So we will get to that. The societal, shall we say, or the conceptualized origins of dragons in human history goes back like as long as we've been able to at least make marks on walls, and probably before that, in the oral traditions of cultures,
Nomadic.
the nomadic cultures, who they looked up just as much as they looked out and down, in their areas. And so thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'm familiar with this theory because I am Queen Dragon nerd. I have read so much about dragons. Nessie has a 17-page document. So as far as the predators go, that's absolutely like true. It also relates to our fear of the dark. Like humans are naturally afraid of the dark because it's dark outside. We cannot see predators coming from them. You have to think with your like reptile brain. I've heard people phrase it like that, like reptile brain. It's your base primal instincts and thoughts. And as long as art has existed, dragons have existed. I have a degree in art history. I took a bunch of extra classes that had dragons in them, or demons, or ghosts, or things that I thought was cool. I focused in basically non-European artwork because I had a lot of that in high school. So for college, when I got my bachelor's, I was like, I want basically no white people. I want to like learn about all the other cultures. I've always been into world myth. So what Steven's talking about is dragons being predators. And what did he say?
Like the coalescence of all of our fears of everything that's out there that wants to kill and eat us. I think that's kind of like a synthesis of it.
Yeah, basically. And what he's saying about them being seen as like the ultimate predator, basically, that's more of a Western thing. Western dragons, specifically, dragons represented Satan. In the Bible, you can go and look at medieval art, which is one of my favorite things. Ass-based, shout out to Shar. That is from Hieronymus. I always say it wrong. Hieronymus Bosch. He's a crazy fella. He hated music, and so he has all these crazy demons and stuff in his artwork. I highly recommend looking him up.
Google it. Just Google it, and you will
sit
there and just be amazed.
But basically, what I was getting at was the church funded art, basically. Right. So that's why when we go back in time, the things that exist still and the things that have been protected are mainly like religious. So in Western culture, the snake obviously is just a dragon without wings. It's a worm. So like that's where I think that plays in. And in Asia, and Asian countries, I know that in Korea, the tiger is like the Japanese, or sorry, Jesus, what am I saying? In Korea, the tiger is like the national,
like their
animal or symbol. Yeah, I know that it's really, really affluent. My brother really loves telling me and about all the tiger stuff that he sees when he's walking around and stuff. But I think that they're definitely more mystical. They're seen as deities or gods, and they're helpers. They're not seen as evil. And I don't know how far. I don't know about Asian snakes a lot, so I know there are big ones. There are huge ones. So I'm wondering, like, if that's where, like, because Chinese or Asian or Eastern dragons, they all have like a very worm-like appearance. Obviously, they slither through the sky, and
they're hooded. They've got that frill around them. They're hooded. They've horns,
often depicted with like a pearl. That is how they fly. And it's like part of their mystical.
That's another question.
Yes, I was pointing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what do you think about that?
Well, my thoughts are similar. To me, what dragons represent are just the ultimate expression of chaos. Chaos given physical, mystical form. So it is, in a way, it's man wants to rationalize their environment in every way possible. It's just how our minds have developed. It's just how we as people we have to make sense of things. And chaos is the ultimate thing that is like antithesis to us, because we fight against the chaos all the time to make sense of things. So those things that don't make sense to us are given like physical manifestation in the form of dragon, because all of the stories, every origin story from of dragons has them emerging from the primordial chaos, the cosmic soup, the sea, the eternal void. They are the expression of that eternal void in a way.
They're and the one of the things I forgot to mention was they appear all over the world. As culture develops and society develops, as writing, oral tradition, like you mentioned, develops. Hey, Left Dad.
Hey,
Sausage King in the house.
Oh, thank you. Oh, to Eminem. Thank you. Drive by Eminemming. He loves me.
And the stream we just. Yeah, but
you never know what you're going to get on my streams. We've had bleeding sheep before. Drive-by fruitings. It happens all the time. Thank you. So that's our chaos. That's my brand.
It's a ladder. Yeah, I really like that. I think that's exactly right. Like it's basically like not even just dragons. Like there are other creatures that'll show up. Like I know you have. What's your title for it? Nessie's Magical Menagerie.
Yeah, Nessie's Magical Menagerie.
Yeah, like unicorns. It's just all from people seeing something for the first time and not knowing how to identify it.
That's like a T-Rex.
Yeah, dinosaurs definitely.
Some people say that was another thing they started digging up like dinosaur bones, and they had to figure out. Obviously, this was some fell beast that lived. Excuse me.
I hit me at the same time. I think we're synced up across the globe. Just random smoker's cough. It's not the virus, I promise, guys.
It's not the Rona, I swear. It's not the Rona.
Yeah,
I got the Rona, I got the booty.
Digging up the bones and stuff. Like another thing in art too is like if you've ever seen like pre-Renaissance and even some Renaissance and beyond, people trying to draw tigers or lions, it's like, what is that? And I know that BuzzFeed does these jokey articles sometimes, and honestly, they're the only like outside of Unsolved with Ryan and Shane, which is one of my favorite shows ever. That's the only BuzzFeed content I consume is all of the hilarious little medieval drawings of creatures because they didn't know what they look like.
No, and the snakes with feet.
Yes, I love
like this wormy little thing, snakes, and their legs are like this long, and they have big feet, and they're just wiggling around.
Yeah. And Egyptian art, there's tons of carvings of Apep. We'll get into this later, but they always depict him with like a couple feet, and it cracks me up because they're really simple, just like booties, just little dragon booties.
Just a little thing, And so, how many legs do a dragon have? Well, that depends.
Here we can go into
whatever looks good to you.
Okay, I have.
And is it a dragon if it doesn't have wings?
Okay, I'm gonna go through these real quick, and then we can talk about it.
Teach us, oh Mother of Drawgons.
All right. So a standard Western or European dragon has 4 legs, 2 wings, and that means 6 limbs. In older illustrations, for example, from the Middle Ages, most dragons resembled winged lizards with talons and serpentine tails. But the wings were far too small to actually fly with. They were like little mini proto-wings. Later, these designs were influenced by early reconstructions of dinosaurs, like we were talking about. So in Europe, where the dinosaurs they found there and dug them up, that is your standard classic Western dragon. Chinese dragons, Eastern, this is specifically, a generalization for all of Asian dragons and Eastern dragons, have serpentine bodies, 4 legs, and are usually without wings. They do occasionally have wings, but they're really weird. Or they have like little cloud floaties.
Right. Or like the Naga, they have that extensions with the hood.
Yeah, the hood and the frills. They're said to be a composite of various other animals: the body of a snake, the antlers of a deer, the talons of an eagle, the soul of a tiger, and the scales of a carp, and the eyes of a demon. So it is said that Chinese dragons have 117 scales. Specific number, which is interesting, I think.
I think it is.
Many pictures of Chinese dragons show a flaming pearl under their chin or in their claws. The pearl is associated with spiritual energy, wisdom, prosperity, power, immortality, thunder, or the moon. Chinese art often depicts a pair of dragons chasing or fighting over the flaming pearl, which is amazing.
Right.
And don't worry, Sean, I will get to Tolkien's dragons.
Right. So in Eastern dragon, what I'm looking at when I'm looking at Eastern dragons is like that feminine yang energy, as opposed to the masculine yin of the tiger. Because when you see like their yin yang symbol, you often see like the tiger and the dragon as the opposing two forces.
Yes. Dragons are the female element of that, and the tiger is the male. And
so that closely associates them with the water and the passive, the wisdom and
water, air, earth. I guess air could kind of be considered. I don't know. I don't want to gender elements. That feels weird.
Well,
I know what you're talking about.
That's a thing. I mean,
I know it is a thing. Yeah.
But,
just trying to think of a better way to say it, So
it's more fluid. The energy is more fluid.
There we go.
As opposed to static. How about that?
Yes, that's good. So we've covered the standard and the Asian. And then we have dragonettes, fairy drakes, or flitters, which I kind of grouped all into one. And these are basically Western dragons that are really small. So
or like a pseudo dragon for D&D people.
Yeah, pseudo dragon. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, I didn't get to time to add D&D dragons to the document, but we have plenty of stuff. And I don't know that much about D&D. We'll have to have Steven on.
We'll have to have Steven on.
Yeah, or Matt, both of them to teach us, who knows.
Yeah.
And then we have, of course, wervins or wyverns, however you want to say it.
Wervirgins.
Wow. Okay. I've had a day, y'all.
Yeah, we both had a day.
Yeah. So wervins, or a dragon that has 2 wings and 2 legs, and this is specifically back legs. The wings function as the front legs. You'll see a lot of the times the wings are actually like hands.
So they're kind of prehensile.
Prehensile, exactly. Like inspired by pterodactyls. I'm sure that's how I do dragon wings.
Right.
I basically draw a really creepy long hand.
Kind of like those dragon things that they're flying on Avatar.
Oh yeah,
I love those. Oh,
those are beautiful.
God, they are
the
so
Last Shadow. I can't remember its name, but that thing that I like lost my shit in the theater.
Yeah,
I was like, yes, go get him, yes, go get him. The biggest, baddest dragon is always the one I want.
Of course it is.
So Wervins are they originally show up in medieval literature too, and they're considered to be the most vicious and animal-like of all of the Western dragon types. So they're more basic, let's say. They're like fire lizards and Pern, or God, I don't remember the Aswath, the little pseudo fire worms.
Or wyverns.
Wyverns. Oh yeah, there are wyverns.
Or wyverns.
Oh, I'm making it.
Or worms.
Worms.
Or wyverns. But yeah, the Sithorian wyverns are very, very vicious. Is how they're described, and that they hunt in packs like wolves.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And they are often associated. They're often on heraldry. So it's same with. We'll get into the Welsh dragons later, but same with a lot of Western dragons. Yeah. Then we have the sea serpent, which is basically a worm of the sea. That's literally what I wrote. Worm of the sea. It is a underwater dragon, basically a fish dragon, if you will. It just
kind of like a Nessie.
Yes. I didn't get to that because I specifically found the origin of the Nessie in it's down in the document. You saw it, I'm sure. But then we also have the Hydra, which is Greek originating. It's a dragon with over 1 million heads.
Yeah,
and that's go ahead.
Just another symbol of chaos, because no matter what you do, it just keeps coming back and keeps coming back.
Yeah.
It can never be completely defeated.
The poets mentioned more heads than the base painters could paint, and for each head that cut off, 2 more grew back. And this was the Hydra of Lerna was killed by Hercules, is the second of his 12 labors, which if you've seen the Disney movie, you know that.
Hercules. And then no, we weren't influenced by Disney stories at all.
Totally. We were just talking about Maleficent earlier. We have the Amphoteric. Do you want to try to say that? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Let me see. Gotta find it. Amphoteric?
Yeah. Something like that. I'm going to paste it in chat so people can see what I'm trying to say, because English is hard.
Yeah, we'll go with Amphoteric.
Okay. It's a type of winged serpent found in European heraldry.
And it's really, really weird.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. It's said to have greenish yellow feathers, a serpentine body similar to a lindworm, bat-like green wings, and a feathered bone, and an arrow-tipped tail much like a wyvern's. And so others...
It's a feathered serpent, kind of.
It's basically a Quetzalcoatl, but it's on European heraldry.
On the water. Hey, interesting. Where would something like that happen?
So that one I thought was really interesting. A lindworm.
Like Western, is that more like Eastern European or Western European? Because in heraldry, because it's not something that you typically see like in it's like a familiar.
I think it's closer. I think it's more Eastern, closer to Asia. Would make sense.
It would make sense, like to have nomadic, Turk, the steppeland influence in the area. So it would make sense that they would have more of like an Eastern form in their heraldry, kind of like a crossover.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
That's kind of vibe.
We also have, there's only 2 left, and I'll stop torturing you guys. Just kidding, we're doing this for 2 hours.
Yeah, you're stuck here forever.
There's the Knucker, which is a 4-legged large lizard, like a dragon, with proto legs. Usually they have like
lion with no wings.
Sorry.
Or like a lizard lion with no wings.
Yeah, like a lizard lion with no wings. They're more like stumpy. Their legs are kind of like stumpy, and they have these little tiny baby.
They're more reptilian.
Yeah, I would say the closest, like if you stuck a pair of fake wings for a dog on a Komodo dragon, that's a Knucker. Yeah. And I like that its name is Knucker. That's great. Drakes are used interchangeably sometimes with dragons. Like But if you want to be specific about it, a drake is it has actually a couple different things that people consider what a drake is. I think this is the most #hotly argued about dragon subspecies. There are different opinions on what classifies as a drake. Some argue they're wingless, four-legged dragons, basically a Komodo dragon. Others use this to classify like a standard young Western dragon. I think it's just like a general broad term. I didn't put lindworm on here, but lindworms are dragons that are worms, but they have front legs. So literally a tube with just two front legs.
Kind of weird.
Very weird. I don't
like that would be more like a fireworm.
Yeah, that's basically what I think the fireworms are, and probably where he got the idea from. Because lindworm is
and you've seen those. They're lizards, but they're snake. They're very snake-like, and they have like those little tiny little
legless lizards. Me and Visaria watched this lady named Emily. Her channel is Snake Discovery, and she has one, and they are weird. They're very weird looking.
Yeah.
And yes, Stephen, a drake is a male duck. A+, buddy. I'm trying to pay attention to chat, but also I'm trying to help get through this.
Well,
sorry, guys.
A drake is a duck, and a duck is like a evolved form of a dinosaur, and so kind of, in a way, long about way,
I all ducks are dragons now. It is
all
known.
ducks are dragons.
It is known. So those are
on the way.
Those are basically, as far as I could figure out, the main types of dragons. So as you can tell, there are many discrepancies with how many limbs it has to have and how many whatevers it needs and what it looks like.
Does it have wings? Does it not have wings? Does it fly? Does it not fly? It's all subjective.
Right. So that is huge. Just think about how many different possibilities, like you could create. So goes back to my point earlier about how, they developed all over the world independently and people drew them. So it's just this crazy cultural, I don't want to say hive mind, but just like a thought in the void from the Matrix, as we call it,
Yeah, it just electively formed everywhere that humans, were conceiving of these things. So, maybe it is way back there in our little reptilian brains that are like, hey, this is what the big bad is supposed to look like. But it's also like the amazing thing that we can't wrap our brains around.
Right. It's just magical and mystical and fascinating, I think.
Magic. It's magic. That's it. It's magic, chaos, energy given form.
Yes, and that's beautiful. That was beautifully put. So, Nessie, let me ask you, how many limbs does a dragon have?
As many as he wants to.
That's good.
No,
1,000 limbs and one.
1,000 limbs in one. Yeah. I think that the dragon itself is its own expression. So since it is a pure expression of magic, whatever it thinks itself into existence. If you can say that. So. Before there was form, before the dragon was formed, it was thinking about what it wanted to be. So when it thinks itself into existence, or we think it into existence, however the symbiosis works, then it's whatever it's maybe what it sees at the time when it's forming itself. Like maybe it's seeing like a river, and that would have more of like the fluid form like the Eastern dragons do. Or it's, there's a mountain and it has full of crags and peaks and valleys, and it's all sharp scales and horns with trees, tall trees and limbs. So it's just like the earth is just giving birth to this dragon, and wherever it is, that's the form that it takes.
That's so beautifully and romantically put. I love that. I just remembered, I haven't thought about this in years, when I was probably in elementary school, I had a binder full of notebook paper that was like, a pack of 100 or whatever. And I said, I'm going to fill this up with all different types of dragons. So there was the earth dragon, the water dragon, the fire dragon. And then I started running out of things. So there was binder dragon and boot dragon and hot dog dragon, which is my mom's favorite. So
I hope that made it to the refrigerator. I hope that made it to the refrigerator.
Oh, there was so much art in my house. We didn't even hang things on the fridge. It was just all over my walls and stuff, and then the hallways and whatnot. But man, that was. It's anything because nobody can tell you how to draw a dragon wrong. Like,
I got to stop right here. Steven's in the chat. Okay, a hot dog is a dragon.
Forgot about that.
That is never going away. A hot dog is a dragon.
For those of you who don't get the reference, Stephen, you tell it, Nessie.
Well, it's a running question that Stephen asked, and it started way back in an old chat stream, and it was, you know how the chat is. Chat, you're chatting right now. The topic came up totally out of nowhere. Is a hot dog a sandwich? And this fight was going on the entire chat, and the entire time the stream was going on, and we were like, well, who cares what's going on the stream? We're talking about this hot dogs. We're going to fight over this hot dog thing. So Stephen has taken it upon himself that, that's one of his, like, I know that nerd questions is.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
It's just a running joke now.
Yeah.
But definitively now, a hot dog is a dragon.
It is a dragon, but it is not a sandwich. That's my official opinion from here on out. So in my opinion about how many limbs a dragon has to have is at least 4. I prefer 6. Sorry, George, your dragons need more legs. But shout out to Crowfood's daughter, Amanda, who has an amazing series on the origins of dragons and Aswath. If one of the mods could drop that for me, I really appreciate that. Yeah, a link to her channel. It's the Disputed Lands on YouTube. But based on what George put into his world, yes, his dragons scientifically make sense. I've made peace with it. I've moved on, and now I just draw them like wyverns. So that is where I've landed on that one. Yeah. So I think we answered Steven's question finally. An hour in,
like 4 pages ago. Yeah. Yeah, and he also asked about deified dragons. So that might be a good place to start talking about that, which was 2 specific ones, which were Tiamat and Quetzalcoatl, obviously from 2 very different parts of the globe, are deified dragons, at least kind of dragony. And there's some speculation that Satan appeared as a serpent because Tiamat was a rival to Yahweh. And so her likeness was used to represent the devil. So, I mean, we kind of touched on that a little bit. But yes, Tiamat.
I have a section on Tiamat here. Her name is often adopted into fantasy and myth. I think she's a red dragon in the Dragonlance books. I read a bunch of those as a kid, just randomly because they had dragons on the cover.
Yeah,
you can really
so good.
You can see my priorities so clearly with what I read.
Same. I know I read them there. I've probably got all those books over in a box at my dad's house somewhere.
Oh yeah, they're in my mom's basement. So Tiamat is actually a Babylonian dragon. So like.
Correct.
Babylon, very, very old.
Well, Babylon, yes, but kind of just that whole Fertile Crescent area. Mm-hmm. The whole Fertile Crescent area.
Oh, the Tigris and the Euphrates.
Mm-hmm. Tigris.
I like to say Tigris.
Tigris and the poo.
So, in the religion of ancient Babylon, Tiamat, which is actually an Akkadian word, which is what you said, Fertile Crescent.
Right. Even older language spoken in the Near East, yeah.
Which is awesome because super secret right here. My full username would be Sanrixian Sargon, and Sargon was the first ever emperor, and he was from Acadia. But I've just dropped it to Sanrixian. So yeah, there we go. So in the ancient religion of Babylon, Tiamat is a primordial goddess of the salt sea, mating with Abzu, the god of fresh water, to produce younger gods. She is a symbol of chaos, of primordial creation. She is referred to as a woman and described as the glistening one, which, I mean, that's a title, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Glistening one. Yeah, okay. It is suggested that there are 2 parts to the Tiamat mythos. The first in which Tiamat is a creator goddess through a sacred marriage between the salt and the fresh water. So she's the salt water. Her husband's the fresh water.
Primordial soup.
Primordial soup.
like the amniotic fluid. Yeah.
Amniotic fluid, exactly. World amniotic fluid. So this first myth is that she's a creator goddess. She marries Abzu, and she peacefully creates the cosmos through successive generations.
Right. The leveling down and the controlled conversion of chaos into a form that is understood.
In the second chaos comp, literally the name of it, Tiamat is considered the monstrous embodiment of primordial chaos. Some sources identify her with images of a sea serpent or a dragon. In the Unma Elish, the Babylonian epic of creation, so their origin story of creation, she gives birth to the first generations of deities. Her husband, Apsu, spelled differently because it's in the second one, correctly assuming they are planning to kill him and usurp his throne. Later makes war upon them and is killed. Enraged, she also wars upon her husband's murderers, taking on the form of a massive sea dragon. She is slain then by Enki's son, the storm god Marduk, and not before she had brought forth the monsters of the Mesopotamia pantheon, including the first dragons, whose bodies she filled with poison instead of blood. Right. Marduk then forms the heavens, and earth is her divided body. So this is a common thing where in Egyptian myth, the sky goddess and the earth goddess, one of them is
one over top of
their bodies create the land that we're on. And there's tons of myths of like dragons falling asleep on hills and turning into the mountains in Europe.
Right.
So it's a common thing. So that's Tiamat. Or Tiamat, or however you want to say it. Yeah. And then Quetzal. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to say that's very similar to like the Greek creation myth, which I'm sure they borrowed it directly from the Persian Empire. Oh, yeah. They're talking about how Gaia and Kronos were like the same shape, and he was killed by his children, and the successive generations kind of come out of that, and it's always a cycling and refinement.
I think that's interesting, like that it's like, like she's the mother, she's basically the mother, and originally she's a good mom, and then she gets turned into a bad mom. It also reminds me a lot of in voodoo, Damballa and his wife. One is a pure white snake, Damballa's pure white, and then his wife is the rainbow serpent. I have her name somewhere in here, we'll get to it. But what was the other half of that question, Ness? Tiamat and Quetzalcoatl, right?
Yeah, Quetzalcoatl. So let's jump across the ocean and
scrolling. Quetzalcoatl.
And now this also ties in because Shar, shout out, hey, I know you're in the chat. She had also asked, did the Native American peoples have any dragons in their cultural myths? So we are answering Shar's question right here as well. So Quetzalcoatl was the main honcho, in Central America.
Yeah, he is even basically like Maya and the Aztec cultures borrowed a lot from each other. So there's even like I have written down here like how basically they borrowed and renamed Quetzalcoatl in Mayan culture. The horned serpent, before we get into this, is basically like the oldest that I could find Native American dragon, which I just think is so awesome. It's one of the most common forms of Native American dragons and a recurring figure among many indigenous tribes of the southeast woodlands and other tribal groups.
Like where I live, that's a big thing. And yes, it's also a house of Ilvermorny. So they the horned serpents, yes. Made it right into Harry Potter.
Yes. But these dragons, Native American dragons, are often associated with, they're mystical, like Asian dragons, and they're associated with water, rain, lightning, and thunder. And
very much a god, weather god kind of thing. That, like, so you would see like the lightning in the sky, and you would think, oh, it's Quetzalcoatl coming down to earth.
Yeah,
the dragon.
So Quetzalcoatl. Specifically, he's from Aztec mythology, as I mentioned, and he is a deity in Mesoamerican culture and literature whose name comes from the Nahuatl language meaning feathered serpent, which I think we all knew. Props to everybody who did. You get an A plus and a gold star.
Yes, plus 10 points.
In the 17th century, Ixtlahuatl, a descendant of Aztec royalty and a historian of the Nahu people, wrote Quetzalcoatl in its literal sense means a serpent of precious feathers, but in an allegorical sense, the wisest of men. So Quetzalcoatl was a good god in Aztec mythology.
Right. He was the god who brought learning and prosperity to, and farming and all those type advancements to society.
Correct. And there's in both, I've noticed Egyptian and Aztec, there's usually a good and a bad serpent for some reason. And there's a lot of dualism in Aztec mythology. Like there's the hero twins, there's
the hero
Shambhala and the jaguar. Oh, God, there's so much dualism. It's such a fascinating thing. If I could have just majored in Aztec history, I would have.
We're going to have a whole thing on American or South American mythology, and because we've already talked about this. Because so Quetzalcoatl's grandmother is Papalotl. Yeah, go start saying those names 10 times fast. Who is also called translates to the obsidian butterfly, which is my favorite Aztec goddess.
Oh, hang on, let me Google something real quick. The goddess of earth in either Aztec or Mayan has a head that's made out of snakes, and her necklace is human hands. She's metal as heck.
They're all creepy, but I just love them. And obsidian butterfly, she is a clawed winged butterfly. So she's like this incarnation of death and the sacrificial knife. So an obsidian sacrificial knife is the deified goddess of, it's Papalotl.
Yes. Coatlicue is who I was thinking of. Serpent skirt. That's what her name translates to. Aztec earth goddess, symbol of the earth as both the creator and destroyer, mother of gods and mortals. So, yeah. And if I remember correctly, she has a lot of children. A lot of the deities are from her, if I remember.
I mean, she's an earth deity, and they're pretty much fertility goddesses.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah, and I have a picture here of her. If you want to see how metal she looks. Hang on 1 second. I can pull it up. Okay. Share my screen, mama. Let me get it up here.
Oh, there it is.
Look at this queen. Look at her. You can see her 2 snake heads and her human necklace hand. Ooh, and a skull and the snake skirt. That's why she's named Snake Skirt.
Snake Skirt.
And then I think big old footies.
She's like a size 10.
There are boobies under here too for those who are.
She got boobs. She's got like the old tongue with the fangs, and
she's gorgeous. Badass. We love her.
She is badass.
Cool. Thanks. Awesome.
Yeah. So you mentioned the horned serpent. Yeah, that's that's the southeastern thing. Now, of course, I live in the southeast of the United States, and particularly in northeast North Carolina, and we have quite a lot of all the venomous snakes are represented in our area. Yes, snakes are venomous. Snakes are not poisonous. There's a difference. True. That is true. People say that all the time, and it just taxes my gig. So, yes, but we have a lot of we have timber rattlers, we have copperheads, we have the cottonmouth moccasins, and even down in like the parts of Florida, I think there's some coral snakes. So every venomous species is represented in our area. So the horns, it is there's all these symbolism and folklore that are connected with snakes in our area. And a lot of them is one, you're not supposed to kill snakes. No, it's bad. And if that you happen to come across one that has been, something's happened to it, it's passed, then you take the snake and you put it and you hang it in the trees, and it's supposed to bring rain.
Is that a sacrifice to the old gods, Nessie?
It could be we're sacrificing, we're hanging snakes in trees around here. It's also kind of to protect you from lightning strikes. So there's a lot of like old Appalachian folklore about snakes, what to and what to not to do. So they're very much respected as much as so I could, and these are all, of course, are passed down through, folklore from the native peoples to the hillbillies and whatnot.
I love it. It's so interesting. Like I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
I was gonna, Jung, I'm just messing with you. I just think Kultla Q is perfect and beautiful and what women should strive to be. To have a necklace made of hands. I'm just messing around.
And you got the snake necklace.
And the snake skirt.
Around, yeah.
And as she has described, the snakes are like withering, like constantly, which is awesome.
That
so
is, like very Medusa. Very
Medusa. Snakes. I don't know a lot of myths about my culture here, but we do have the mounds.
Yes,
the Cahokia mounds in Missouri, and they were more trying to remember they were more into like earth and building than they were typically like animal deification. But there's that great big I forget what you call it when they carved into the earth so big that you can see it from the plane. It's like geoforming or something like that. Animal Crossing is on my brain, so I wanted to say terraforming, but
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they carve, and that there's a horned serpent one that he's just it's kind of got little doodads on his, and he's just really cute, and I've always loved him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you were talking about the serpent mounds. That's what they're called, the serpent mounds in the Mississippian culture. Obviously, it's related to the Mississippi River, which is like the greatest river in the United States. So of course, it's going to be like deified by these people that it is a source of life, it is a source of nourishment. They built this huge society in the middle of the United States, like 500 years before like white men came over and fucked everything up.
Like they do.
A very high level of civilization and prosperity, and they were trading, and they were just this huge society, and their central theme was the snake. And if you look from above in like the planes or helicopter or whatever, that you can see these snake serpent shaped hills that are man-made. And I think there's one site where there's like a serpent, there's like even the mouth is formed, and there's an egg there.
Which if you think about that and the etchings, the earth etchings, for lack of my brain figuring out the words, that's it. Yeah, maybe, I don't remember. But both of those
petroglyphs, geoliths, something. Scratches.
The earth scritches and the snake hills, technical terms. I have a degree in this. What's interesting is
like Nazca.
Yeah, they how did they do that?
Exactly. It's not like, they could like fly on a dragon, or, they didn't have weather balloons or how to get from above, but, they're very, very intelligent people, they're highly visual, and they had very high advanced mathematical skills. So you take enough Datura, Damiana, peyote, smoke enough weed, and you can see from above and see how it's all supposed to work out. You just go in the matrix, baby.
Yeah, into the matrix, and you can find it. They also like had a way of telling time. At least I'm referring to. I'm not familiar with Lower Mississippi because I'm from Missouri, and I've seen the Cahokia mounds of the Cahokia people. So I'm not. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't actually been there and seen it. You know what I mean? Right. So like the Cahokia mounds, they had a whole layout for like a natural clock made of like logs and sticks. So when the sun went, and the years and all that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's very, very interesting. And another one of the Native American dragons is the Piasa bird, the giant thunder eagle, if you will. And that is a Native American dragon of the Illini people. And it's depicted in one of the two murals painted by Native Americans on bluffs, cliff sides above the Mississippi River. And crazy thing about this, on the way to a water park I used to go to as a kid we would see that all the time, and I thought it was awesome. I'm trying to remember the name for giant thunder eagles, but I can't.
Thunderbirds?
Thunderbirds. How can I not do that? That's my email app. So many names right now. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. I mean, it's just, hey, it's a bird. A bird is a dragon. I mean, a dinosaur, and a dinosaur is a dragon. There you go. It's the
and
same.
a hot dog is a dragon.
And a hot dog is a dragon.
Never forget.
And a duck is a dragon.
And a duck is a dragon. Everything is dragons. So,
yeah. So,
what did we want to talk about next? Do we have any more questions?
oh man, I was about to say something about the mound people, but that's okay.
Oh, go ahead if you want to.
I've lost the thought. Oh yeah, the petroglyphs. Like there's petroglyphs, like on the Snake River too, out in what was that, Oregon, Washington State? It might be Washington State. There's a lot of petroglyphs of like these river creatures there. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing of like the native peoples, the first peoples, is that they have these, the American version or the Nessie, the Loch Ness monster is these river. They have these river monsters. Mm-hmm. So they're like these serpentine water dragons, water beasts, very, very similar to the aquatic, the Loch Ness monster, the Nessies. Ogopogo, I think Ogopogo is one. Champy is another in
Champy
in Lake Champlain. So there's all these stories about aquatic, giant, sinewy, snake-like creatures. They live in the water, but they can, come up on land, and like the water horse type creatures. So a Kelpie. Yeah, maybe Kelpie is a dragon too.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we say demon, dragon, kind of a supernatural, it all kind of goes together. What did that just make me think of? Dang it. It's gone.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. Yours did. You were saying something right before Kelpie.
Yeah, about the the water connection with the dragon.
Water dragons. Yeah, it also that's what it was. It reminded me of Leviathan, which in Bible is depicted as a like 7-headed giant monstrosity. So some people it's like a kraken.
The coiled one is what Leviathan is supposed to, like the coiled one.
Coiled, yes.
Coiled. Mm-hmm. And I talked to them about this on the one of our Expanse streams that we did with, it was for season 1, because that's the name of that, the book that season 1 of the Expanse is based on, is the Leviathan Wakes. Right. It's another pop culture reference to the Leviathan. But how it is part of the existential threat that comes from the void of the eternal void, the void of space, the void, is, as we said before with Tiamat, is associated with the ocean or the salt water. And for the Semitic, Aramaic, the Canaanite,
if you're talking about
people, the ocean or the sea would be the Med right there, the salt, the world sea. Mm-hmm. And Leviathan goes to.
Yeah, most creation myths that exist globally involve the primordial ooze, as we were calling it earlier, the ocean, the earth, the sky. Most have deities in most cultures. Is a vast generalization, but it's interesting how that water is always prevalent. I actually wrote a thesis paper on water deities across very many cultures and tied it together. So this is bringing back my memories of this, because crocodile gods, in Egyptian myth, like hippos were really feared.
Hey, hippos are badass, dude.
They are. They're scary.
Do not mess with the hippo. But the devourer isn't the devourer of souls. If you once you pass through the Egyptian underworld.
Oh, you're thinking of the little. He's half crocodile, half lion.
The devourer. I'm not sure what his name is, but that's what he's called. Who, if your soul doesn't pass muster, he just eats you, and you go back to the cosmic primordial ooze. And
it's Amit. He is devourer of the dead, if we're talking about Egyptian.
Yes.
And the Book of the Dead is basically you have your Ka, which is your body, and you have your Ba, which is your soul, which takes the form of this adorable little bird with a person
It's
face.
winged.
Yeah, it's adorable. And so that soul, goes into the underworld, and oftentimes they're depicted as, once they go into the underworld, Egyptian art is very like linear, kind of like comic booky. That's a whole nother thing that we could do a whole stream on, like the origins of animation. But your soul goes down into the underworld, and then you are judged by Thoth, the stork crane-headed god. And
the smarty pants.
Anubis weighs your heart against a feather, which is Mot, the goddess of truth. And if you fail, Ammit eats your heart, and you go back to the ooze. That's how that works. Another really cool, since we're talking about Egypt, I want to talk about Apep, because he's my boy.
Let's talk about him. That's we almost had a snake, one of your snakes.
His name is Apep.
Yeah.
Yeah. His name is Apep Bright Hiss. That's what we came to. He's the one that I posted on Twitter, if anybody saw that. Let me scroll and find my Egyptian. Okay, so Apep has many, many, many spellings. Apophis, which also would have been really good, and Vissy said Apophis should be the snake name, but we decided on Apep. He was an ancient Egyptian god who embodied chaos and was thus the opponent of light, Ma'at, order, truth. So the feather. Ma'at also has sometimes a human form, but really you only see the feather. So this is interesting too, because there's Set, who's a chaos god, and Horus, who's a light god, who I've tattooed behind my ears, if you guys have ever seen those. But so this is another earlier interpretation of chaos and light. So Apep was seen as a giant snake or serpent, and leading to titles, he has Serpents of the Nile and Evil Dragon. So he's the Serpent of the Nile or the Evil Dragon. Some elaborations said that he stretched 16 yards in length and had a head made of flint, which I think is weird. So
and there's that association directly to the Nile as well.
Yeah, directly to the Nile and to water. But the most interesting thing I think about Apep is his battle with Ra in the underworld. So basically how it goes, and this was during the New Kingdom of Egypt, that period of time, storytellers said that every day Apep must lay below the horizon and not persist in the mortal kingdom. This appropriately made him a part of the underworld. In some stories, Apep waited for Ra in a western mountain called Bakhu, where the sun set, and in others, Apep lurked just before the dawn in the 10th region of the night. That's a cool sentence. 10th region of the night. The 10th. That's where I live all the time, the 10th region. The wide range of Apep's possible locations gained him the title World Encircler, similar to Yormonger, the World Serpent, or Ouroboros. So it was thought that his terrifying roar would cause the underworld to rumble. Myths sometimes say that Apep was trapped there because he had been the previous chief god overthrown by Ra, or because he was evil and had been imprisoned. Yeah. So the cycle would go. I can't remember the exact name of the book right now, but it's not the Book of the Dead. It's specifically like a tale about Ra going into the underworld, and he'd have to have a nightly battle with Apep. And Ra's victory each night was thought to be ensured by the prayers of the Egyptian priests and worshippers at temples. The Egyptians practiced a number of rituals and superstitions that were thought to ward off Apep and aid Ra in continuing his journey across the sky. And some of these, they had a book, just how to ward off Apep, and some of the things they would do would be spit it. They would make like a little like Apep figure, and they would spit on it. They would file it with their left foot, because left is bad in Egypt. Also, anybody who was raised Catholic in like the 70s,
the sinister hand,
the sin in hand. They would also take a lance to smite Apep, fettering Apep, which is interesting because Fenris Wolf, aka Fenrir, was fettered with that magical thing, which is on my arm, and it's the crazy Norse word I can't say. Also, you have to take a knife and stab your wooden apep, or you can burn him. You can burn your little statue. So they had this whole cultural thing, which is why it was so interesting for me earlier when you mentioned the folklore about what you do with snakes, because that's super interesting. So in addition to those things, there was an annual rite called the Banishing of Chaos. Priests will build an effigy of Apep that was thought to contain all evil and darkness in Egypt and burn it to protect everyone from Apep's evil for another year. So in addition to these little micro figures they had a giant burn the wood snake ritual.
That's awesome.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Burning snake. Burning snake.
Burn
the snake. Burn the snake.
Oh, I feel really bad. I love snakes. I would never burn one, but
it's the chaos. Yeah, we wouldn't do it. But we would go to the festival. You know, that's a great time that they're having there. Everybody's got snakes around their neck. They're just they're just having a big time, drinking beer and, having the banished, throwing all. It's like Mardi Gras for Egypt.
Snakes.
But snakes.
There's also but snakes. There's also a tradition in Egyptian history where they don't write down bad things that happen or like times when they were defeated, because that way, it just doesn't exist. They just self-edited like that.
Right. Because they're writing the history, and
they're writing their own history.
Down, they know, a couple of 100 years, nobody will even think about it. It's what history is, what we say it is.
Good night, Emma. Thanks to have you here.
Oh, Emma,
sorry I didn't say hi earlier. Yeah, my dad's left-handed, Amy, and he got slapped with rulers all the time. So there was one more thing that I wanted to say about Apep. He's also called the Eater of Souls, even though that's Amit, as I just explained, the little lion crocodile thing. And apparently the Book of Dead Spells is the book that I was looking for the title of earlier, that when you're under the Ra versus Apep. So basically Ra has to kill him every night or the sun won't rise, because Apep will eat Ra, the sun god. So very similar to Norse, with Skoll and Hati, the two sons of Fenrir, with the moon.
And it was similar in Latin American culture about the sun having to sacrifice to bring the sun back every day. It was a daily battle that was fought, bringing light and banishing chaos and bringing the light back to the world every day. So
it's the theme of good conquering evil, and a lot of times dragons represent the evil because they represent the chaos, like you.
Yeah. And so one thing I did want to talk about, I think that's why the Eastern dragons are more kind of mellow or laid back, because they are associated with like the rivers and the water in the East, like the Mekong and especially the Yellow River. But also at the same time, the Yellow River has always been a source of, even though it's a source of nourishment with its annual flooding, which makes the areas so fecund and able to support such a huge amount of population. All at the same time, those floods are very damaging and dangerous to the people that live along that river. So it's both a creating and destroyer at the same time. So even it has its duality, its dual nature as well, even though they are associated with the water like that. And that kind of makes perfect sense to me as well.
Do you want to get into specifically Chinese dragons?
We can.
Because there was Lady Leaf asked about why Chinese dragons can fly. We answered that, right?
You quickly answered that. Why the Chinese dragons do not have wings, but they fly. Okay. And it was due to, I think you said, their power of their pearl.
Basically, their Chinese dragons are considered magic. So they fly with mystical abilities. That's like the clearest answer I've ever been able to come across. They can just float through the air. People have come up with some crazy theories about how their bones could be lighter and that's why they could fly and all this stuff. But they're pretty darn cool.
Always, and they're always sources of wisdom. They're the thing that the hero will go to ask the question that they have to have answered, or they have the mystic, they always have that sage advice. In some areas, I think even deified.
No, they're definitely deified. And I'm not going to be correct on which dynasty in Chinese history this was, so I'm not even going to try, but
we're not going to try.
Chinese emperors considered themselves human incarnations of dragons at one time.
The first emperor.
Thank you.
The first emperor claimed
direct descent from a dragon. So there's in Chinese culture, there are azure dragons, which represent the east and the spring season. In Chinese mythology, and one of the 4 symbols. So the 4 symbols is earth, water, fire, air. There's Tianlong, the celestial dragon. So these are all subcategories of Chinese dragons that are found in myth and also art. The celestial dragons are the ones who pull the chariots of the gods and guard their palaces. So those are the rich boys, right? There's Shen Lung, and also Lung or Long, and I'm probably not saying it right, is just the word for dragon in Chinese. But Shen Long specifically, they're the spiritual dragons. They control the wind and the rain. So these are probably the ones that are most people are familiar with, or you associate with specifically Chinese dragons. And they are the ones who we get the idea of, like the wind and the rain, god deification. Fukulong, the dragon of hidden treasures, the hoarders, if you will. They're the underworld dragons, which guard buried treasures and both in natural and man-made holes. Volcanoes are said to be created when they burst out of the ground to report to heaven. How cool is that? And they're also considered the gods of crafting. And I didn't know about these guys until I found them when I was researching for this. So I was like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. That's a new one. There's Dailong, the underground dragons. They're basically like earth dragons whose task is to preside over the rivers and streams. According to some accounts, they're the female counterpart of Shenlong, and they fly only in order to mate. So Shenlong are the spiritual dragons, the wind and the rain. So that would make them the males, and then the females would be the Dailong, the underground dragons. So it's interesting, the sky, air, kind of masculine, earth, but then the water's in there. So it's a little messy. We also have,
a little messy, but
we also have the Yinglong, the winged dragons.
Yinglong.
So you don't ever see winged dragons in Chinese art, but they do exist. There are paintings, and they're the oldest of all the Eastern dragons and the only kind with wings.
Which is very interesting that they developed to remove the wings away.
They became more magical, in my opinion. So maybe, this is pure speculation, but maybe in the beginning, the old ancient dragons were bad, and then it became associated with power. The first emperor chose it to say, I am directly descended from dragons. I am the most powerful creature on the planet. I am Aegon I freaking Targaryen. I ride Valerian. But yeah, that was my thought when I read that. We also have the Quilong, the horned dragons. Horns are coming up again, fellas. And they're considered to be the mightiest of the dragons.
Horns up, y'all.
Panlong, the coiling dragons, or water dragons, believed to mostly inhabit the lakes of the of China.
Yeah. They're coiled because they got to fit in a bowl.
They just do a little ball, like my ball pythons.
Do a little circle.
Oh, they're just ball pythons in my head now. Just frilly ball pythons. We have the Huanglong, the yellow dragons, and they once emerged from the river Lu, presented the legendary emperor Fu Hishi with the elements of writing, and they are known for their scholarly knowledge. So yellow dragons are scholars. Azure dragons are east and spring season represented. So it's just so interesting how each thing has a different dragon.
Right. And it's kind of like as the societies develop, they have more sophisticated versions of what the dragon represents. Like initially, it's just a very elemental force. And then as society develops, they become more and more refined, so that now you have like the philosopher dragon, the scholar dragon, the writing dragon, as opposed to the dragon that brings the rain, Yeah. So you go from a survival level to more of a higher societal level. So that's pretty cool as we, because I mean, let's face it, Eastern cultures are so much older than most any Western cultures. So their dragon history is just going to be layers and layers and layers of development over 5,000 years. So there's a lot more we can learn from something from their culture as far as how humans have developed these things over time.
Yeah, Amy's in the chat, by the way, and I know she's really dang good with Chinese, so she's giving us little tips as I'm going, which is amazing. So she said Huang means yellow, and babe, I'm sorry for my pronunciation if I'm butchering it. Like, I'm doing my best.
Hey, we are both doing our best here, but
right.
We fully admit that we are not fluent in any Eastern languages, and we're just trying very hard not to butcher the names. But one day, not too distant future, I'm going to have Amy come on the chat. Yes.
Oh, she's going to do so good.
And I'm going to turn her loose on the demon monkey Sun.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that'll be awesome. So I have one last. This is a small section of the types of Chinese dragons, but Long Wang, the Dragon Kings. They're the rulers over each of the 4 seas, those of the east, south, west, and north. And although their true form is that of a dragon, they have the ability to shape-shift into human form. They live in crystal palaces guarded by shrimp soldiers and crab generals.
Shrimps, crabs, they like seafood.
Yeah.
And they can shift into human form, which I think is very cool because
my favorite.
Hashtag that's a thing.
And yeah, Lady Leaf on the Aswaf is my home. When I don't know what I'm doing, I just go back to Aswaf, right?
Yeah, we all speak Aswaf.
We all speak it, Aswaffles. So, I mean, I have pages and pages here of stuff that we could talk about. Do you want to ask the chat what they want to hear about next? I've got Australian, Japanese, Indian,
we've
Sumerian.
taken. What's your poison? Sure, anything, everything is.
I have European, Sumerian, Persian.
Like we
haven't
talked about the Norse and Germanic.
We should do that. But
we should do that. That's a big one. So there's like 12 pages. I'm going to take 5 seconds real quick, Sandra, because we missed the mid-roll, and judging by it's like
sorry, I was ranting about APEP.
No, it's okay. We're just a few minutes past. This is the time where I just take the moment to thank everybody who's here, who's in the chat. Thank you so much for showing up to listen to me ramble on about anything and everything. If you like what you're listening to, maybe give us a like. Maybe subscribe. We're going to do some cool things, coming up. What you want to see, you can always message me. I know, we can discuss anything mythology related. So thanks. Do all the things. Sanri, I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing all of your wealth of knowledge.
Well, thank you for having me. I've always wanted to just scream about dragons forever, and you guys have heard me rant for more than an hour now. Just I'm so fascinated by this. So in chat, it looks like people want
Australian. I saw some Celtic dragon.
Celtic, rainbow serpent, which is Australian. Middle East. I have a bunch of Middle East ones pulled. And then Jung wants to revisit the pearl flight powers. Basically, there's a flaming orb or a pearl. I can do this real quick. That the dragon carries with it, and that's what gives it the power to fly. So it's in their claw or under their chin. Or if you see art, there's a lot of times there's 2 or more dragons like fighting over a pearl because of the symmetry. It's So that's the pearl flight powers. So
it's their obvious inaccessible foci.
Yeah. So Nessie, do you want to talk about the rainbow serpent, the Australian?
Well, we can, because we can take care of that fairly quickly. I don't have like a very in-depth, deep knowledge of it, but I did want to acknowledge the Aboriginal people of Australia are the oldest one of cultures in the world, and they have petroglyphs going back thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And their main creator personification is the rainbow serpent, which, you see some petroglyphs. If you see the pictures of the petroglyphs, it is very dragon-like, especially with all the different colors. But the colors are representative of magical things, and it is another thing, guardian who will bring the rain. And in like northern Australia, the monsoon season that comes every year is what nourishes the land and allows the land to flourish. It allows the people to survive in such a very harsh and unforgiving climate. So that the personification of the monsoon rains is just basically what the one of the aspects of the rainbow serpent is. It also represents like their primordial ancestor, the spirit that led them there, because their legends say that they did not come from the land there, that they journeyed there.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
it's a good dragon.
Yeah, it's a very good
dragon. So when you were talking about that, and I also wrote this in the notes because I instantly thought of Damballa, from, as this is an African myth, voodoo. He is one of the most important of all the Iowa, the spirits, or Loa spirits. I'm not sure which, I'm sorry. In Haitian voodoo and Louisianan voodoo traditions. But this, again, all generates in Africa. Damballa is believed to be the sky father and the primordial creator of all life. He rules with the mind, intellect, and cosmic equilibrium. White rum is sacred to Damballa. As the serpent spirit and the great master created the cosmos using his 7,000 coils to form the stars and the planets in heavens, and to shape the hills and valleys on earth. By shedding his serpent skin, Damballa created the waters on the earth. Damballa is basically I don't know the word for when you you sub a saint. There's a word where because there's a lot of saints in voodoo, you know what I mean? Right. Whenever they do that, he's basically equated with St. Patrick, Christ the Redeemer, Our Lady Mercy, or Moses. And then his wife, Damballa, is a giant white snake. His wife is a rainbow serpent named Aida Wido. And she is fertility, rainbows, wind, fire, and almost all snakes. She's known as the rainbow serpent, and she's married to Damballa. And in a lot of voodoo glyphs, you will see two serpents, and those are Damballa and Aida Wido. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's way cool. I mean, I wonder how far back.
Santeria, yeah. I don't practice Santeria. I do have a crystal ball. I love 1,000,000 dragons, and I talk about them all. Great. Okay. So we covered a couple of those.
But that is really interesting that two totally different, totally unrelated cultures on the far sides of the world from one another, both possibly having exited out of Africa at different times, but the most ancient of myths has this serpent, this rainbow serpent. So that is just extra cool. It's all connected, y'all. It's an Ouroboros.
That comes from Egypt, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Ouroboros. So let's do some some European dragons.
Yeah, we kind of didn't spend a lot of time with them. We can talk about we can go with the Germanic and Fafnir. He's another big one in the sagas of Germanic, the Germanic sagas. Part of the Nibelungenlied or the Volsung saga is this dude. You've got Sigurd. He's this hidden prince. He's got to go hide out, and he goes to live with like his mom's people out in the woods. And so he's hanging out with Uncle Fafnir, who just happens to be a shapeshifter. And his preferred form of shapeshifting is that he will shapeshift into a dragon.
There you go, Bissy. She wanted shape-shifting dragons.
Who did?
Bissy.
Vizzy.
Yeah.
Fafnir. Yeah, he was the OG on the shapeshifting dragons on the, in Western society. It was kind of as perceived as like a gift and a curse at the same time, because all of Odin's gifts are two-edged.
Yep.
He gifts you with poetry, but he also get madness. He gifts you with phenomenal, because Fafnir was a smith. He was a smith. So he gives creative energy, talent. He can, create magical swords and whatnot. But hey, on the other, you're going to turn into a dragon and, go around killing people too. So you have to live out in the woods all by yourself, and not don't interact with people. You're an outcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. He was cursed by Andvari's ring and gold. So he became a dragon and was slain by Sigurd.
Yeah. So there's that tie-in with the treasures, the greed things, and the handcrafted, the things that are made, and it's just that type of lust for gold and lust for treasures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a good dragon.
Not a good dragon. No.
Not a bad dragon, just not a really great dragon.
He had he had a curse. I can give him a little slack, I guess. But,
he was cursed, but yeah.
Do you want to talk about Jorgemund?
Oh, Jorgemund?
Jorgemund.
Yeah, Jorgemund, is the world serpent. It is one of, talking about monster children, Loki of Norse mythology had 3 monster children. He had a love affair, a marriage of sorts with one of the Jotun, who was very associated with water. Mm-hmm. She was like the daughter of one of the primordial water deities. Mm-hmm. So they're living out, hanging out in their little shack by the sea, and they have three kids. But they're all, the thing about Angerboda is that she too was a shapeshifter. Mm-hmm. She was a shapeshifter, and Loki is a shapeshifter. So of course the children are going to inherit this type of power from them. And they have 3 children. The eldest is Hela, and she is a bad bitch.
Yeah, she is.
Mm-hmm. She is half living and half dead. Basically, she lives in between the 2 worlds. She is the ruler, creator, embodiment of the ignoble death afterlife.
Yes.
The randos go to hell. Mm-hmm. Hela. So she walks between the 2 worlds. So she's half living and half dead. Then there's next, of course, your buddy is Fenrir, who is a shapeshifter to a wolf. And he is, of course, all of the children of Angerboda and Hela. I mean, Angerboda and Loki have a doom placed on them.
Mm-hmm. They're all involved in the apocalypse and Ragnarok.
Yes, triggers and aspects of the Norse apocalypse. So, of course, chaos. Mm-hmm. All the Ragnarok is nothing but the unleashing of chaos upon the earth. And
our boy.
Yeah, and then the baby Jormungandr. He is the world serpent. He is in circles continually. He grew to be so large that he could not be contained. So he circles the earth, the waters of Midgard continually. And in that, if you kind of think about it, he becomes the Ouroboros.
Yes.
the beginning and the end. So when Ragnarok approaches, one of the signs or one of the portents that Ragnarok is approaching is that Jormungandr separates. So the Ouroboros is broken.
Yes, the thing that basically holds
It holds everything together.
One of the other things, I can't remember Hela's, but Fenrir's is he's fettered to the ground with he breaks out like 3 times, and then they eventually are like, we gotta call the dwarves because he's breaking out all this stuff, and they're afraid of him. So they tie him up in a field of heather, and when he breaks his chains, I think that's the start of Ragnarok, if I'm correct.
Right. I think you're correct.
I'm pretty sure.
And the third is, of course, I think is Hela arriving on the ship made of the.
And yes, you are correct.
Thanks, Left Dad.
Yeah.
I'm very happy now that Left Dad's proud of me. But yeah, one of the things I thought was interesting is the reason that Jorgrimr was Odin tossed Jorgrimr into the sea, and then he just grew. And snakes do grow, or dragons do grow, dependent on their environment. Like I was talking about Fat Walda earlier, she's huge now. Like they get bigger and bigger and eat more and more. It's that very base reptile brain, food. Snakes are kind of dumb, fam, if you didn't know. And ball pythons are like the chocolate labs of snakes.
You don't want to see behind my chair.
Do you see what's behind my chair?
Don't bring them in.
I ain't bringing them in.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, representations of some of the local fauna that we were talking about earlier.
I understand.
Yeah, he has preserved a few of the local swamp denizens.
Did you in glass jars?
No, just put them on boards. They were somebody had, they were
they got flattened. I understand.
Yeah.
I've got 4 foot long copperhead in there and a 4 foot long, 4 foot and some odd change cottonmouth.
Wow. Yeah.
Big.
My biggest snake is Butters, and he is between 6 and 8 feet. I haven't measured him in a while, but he's a big boy, and he's very dumb and very old. So he's a good man.
What do you think of it now that it's cold?
It's delicious. So yeah, the other major the main dragon, if you want to talk about in the Norse mythology, is Nithog or Nidog.
Nidog.
She don't eat meat, does she?
Yes, she does.
She does?
Of course
I eat meat.
She do.
Dad.
Would you like to see my meat?
Maybe. I've seen your sausage factory.
So anyway, Nithog, who is we were just talking about the world snake. So this is Nithog lives at the roots of the world tree, kind of in Hela's backyard. And continually just chewing and chewing and chewing on the roots of the world tree, so if you have the world tree this way, and then you have Jormungandr going around and around and around it, and then you got Nithog down here, just chewing on the roots, just an agent of chaos, because if the world tree goes, then the world is.
Yeah. Yggdrasil, yeah. Sorry, I was just responding to Aaron in the chat. Butters from South Park, yes, Lady Shar. He came to me named Chaos, which is exactly what somebody who buys a snake this big and doesn't understand that it's going to be an 8-foot monster would be. So he was Professor Chaos, and then we just went on Butters because he's a dope. He is Viseria's son. So did you want to go on about Nidhogg?
Sure. He wants to show you all his bacon that he smoked today, because
show us your bacon, Dad.
Show us the meat, man. Show us the meat.
This is just one.
So this was a slab of delicious bacon that came off.
I'm drooling.
Yeah.
This is the best part of your streams. Left Dad coming in randomly, showing up, stuffing M&Ms in your mouth, and then piping in to tell me I'm correct about Ragnarok, which just, chef's kiss there. Oh.
Okay, now go put that up before you strain yourself.
Well,
bacon pride. Steven says bacon pride. Love it.
What?
Yeah.
You
No.
want that knob?
Mm-mm. No, we're talking about dragons.
Durgans.
Durgans. Okay, and then you've got this lovely little.
Worms.
Worms
So-
are not dragons.
I guess so. You know, the Loch Ness monster kind of, sort of fits in here.
Yeah. I can't say that word. The lake monster living in Lag Arflajor near Egilsstaðir in Iceland is where the Loch Ness monster comes from. That's the OG one. He was a myth, or that's where it is basically. I'm just gonna drop the whole sentence in chat so you can see how badly I butchered these words. Bacon thirst is right, John.
Lagerflutzer Murren. Lagerflutzer Murren. There we
Good
go.
job.
Lagerflutzer Murren.
Perfect.
Yes.
Speaking of European dragons, I did want to touch on Yig or Yi Draggoch, which is the Welsh dragon. If you've seen the Welsh flag, it's the one with the red dragon on it. And in Welsh mythology, after a long battle, which the Welsh king Vortigern witnesses, a red dragon defeats a white dragon. Merlin explains to Vortigern that the red dragon symbolizes the Welsh and the white dragon symbolizes the Saxons, thus foretelling the ultimate defeat of the English by the Welsh. Yig Draggoch appears on the Welsh national flag.
Yeah.
So that's a hard name for me, Yig Draggoch, because it's so close to Yggdrasil.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I say this correctly?
I'm sure Kelly, who spent a lot of time, who's gone to Wales a few times, could just
Yeah.
it for us. Yeah.
I should have checked in with Amy and her about pronunciations before all this. I can do the French ones at least.
All right. Let's see. So there's some you got some Slavic dragons and Windish dragons. These are all kind of course, we were talking about Western dragons earlier, but you know, these are the Eastern European versions, like where the flying snake came in.
Yeah, what's interesting is the Slavic ones, they're called Zme or Drak or Smock, which I like Smock the best of all of those.
Smock.
They're really similar to a traditional European dragon, but they have many heads. So they have like a Hydra aspect to them. And they breathe fire and or leave fiery wakes as they fly. And they, of course, represent evil, as we're coming to find out in all of these dragons, except for the Asian dragons. Specific dragons are often given Turkish names, see Zilant, and symbolizing the long-standing conflict between the Slavs and the Turks. So, yeah.
That region has just continually been at conflict between, because it's the crossroads of East and West.
Yeah, it's high tension there. So, in Serbian and Bulgarian folklore, dragons are defenders of their crops in the home regions, and they fight against a destructive demon Allah, whom they shoot with lightning. So those are, Serbian and Bulgarian, which is, if I remember, close to kind of
right. Yeah. Very good. So you were going to talk about the French dragon. So
the French dragons is actually
gargoyle legend.
Yeah. I mean, gargoyles are kind of their own thing. They're more demons. Gargoyles were placed on top of churches to like ward off things, basically, as far as I remember from my art history classes.
Like hanging a snake in a tree.
Like hanging a snake in a tree. There we go. They're often presented as a symbol of Christianity's victory over paganism. The harmful dragons equal the pagans. This is also common with English and other European dragons, representing the evil pagans being slain by heroic dragon slayers. So St. George.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. I always booed those. Like, I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, screw that St. George guy. This is what turned me from being a Catholic. This is St. George killing that cute dragon.
And like Patrick shooing the snakes out of Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, that's an allegory for Christians kicking out pagans, is what that is. So boo St. Patrick's Day. Sorry.
I do. Boo.
Boo. Keep the snakes. Keep the snakes. Keep the druids.
Pagan Oppression Day. Pagan Oppression Day.
John says adapting pagan shit to fight pagan shit. That's exactly accurate. Christianity stole so much.
Everything
was stolen. So
bank card stolen.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing about French dragons that's interesting is the class Dragoon, that I'm sure all of you who played Final Fantasy know what that is. It's actually a real. Go ahead.
Yeah, or read the Three Musketeers.
Oh yeah, that too. You know, the more civilized take. But it comes from dragon, obviously, and dragoons were originally a class of mounted infantry who used horses for mobility, but dismounted to fight on foot. And from the early 17th century onward, dragoons were increasingly also employed as conventional cavalry trained with combat on swords from horseback. So they're the OG Dothraki. That's the word. But they're French, so that's really cool. I think sometimes they even had lances or flaming lances, which is very.
It's kind of like the evolution of the knight on the horseback with charging into battle. It's just the evolution. Now they're just a little more tricked out.
Yeah, so
just less armor, more firepower or what have you.
Yeah. There's also the St. Leonard's Forest Dragons, which is a Sussex folklore. I wish Emma was here so she could help us out with this.
How bad we are.
Yeah. There's a legend of St. Leonard the Dragon Slayer who lived in the forest and slew the last dragon in England in Aethelwald's Chronicle in 770 AD mentions monstrous serpents that were seen in the country of the southern Angles that is called Sussex. So basically, in 770 AD, people saw dragons there, and this dragon slayer, Leonard, killed them. So he was injured, and the lilies of the valley grow where his blood fell, an area of the forest that is still called the lily beds. As a reward, he requested that the snakes be banished, and the nightingales, which interrupted his prayers, should be silenced. However, dragons were still around in August 1614 as a pamphlet that was published with the title Discourse Relating to a Strange and Monstrous Serpent or Dragon lately discovered and yet living, to the great annoyance and divers slaughters both of men and cattle by his strong and violent poison. And this is all written in like Old English. And
well, I mean, at that time, vocabulary was relative. It's just a suggestion. There was no autocorrect. So
the great annoyance, by slaughtering men and cattle with his poison, and that there's a in Sussex, 2 miles from the Horsham, in a wood called St. Leonard's Forest, and 30 miles from London. That's where this happened, basically, this legend. So
yeah. So anytime you see snakes in Sussex, it's all going to just report back on this one legend where he killed the last dragon. Oh no, he didn't.
Yep.
So Sussex is just infested with these creatures, which is pretty cool because that's the southern part of England where all the weird and funky fun shit kind of happens. Somerset, where got the mounds and all the pagan sites and the ruins and whatnot. Why not dragons too? Of course, there are dragons there. Where else?
There be dragons.
Yeah, there they be.
Right. Sorry, I had to. Man, we actually did a really good job, like getting a lot of these out. I have some. I have Indian dragons, Japanese dragons, Sumerian dragons, and Persian, modern day Iran. Or sorry, that's the old name for Iran. Dragons left, and then we haven't even touched dragons in pop culture.
Yeah, we need to spend a little bit of time with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
So the big daddy, the granddaddy, the man, the dude, the OG of dragons in literature is going to probably be Beowulf. Would you agree?
Beowulf was the first. Historically, let me look at my little docu here. Actually, no, Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was first. So dragons of antiquity. There was Humbaba, a dragon slain by Gilgamesh in approximately 2150 to 1200 BCE. And then we talked
about all the fun.
What's that?
I said Gilgamesh had all the fun.
He did. He had a great time. And then we talked about Leviathan earlier. That was 5th century BC, and it comes from the Hebrew Bible in the book of Job, or Psalms, the book of Isaiah, the book of Amos. And then, of course, there's from the Pseudo Apollodorus Bibliotheca, the sea monster that Perseus slays to rescue Andromeda, the dragon guarding the apples. So those are like the earliest dragons in pop culture, I would say, because they were books written or things told.
Okay.
And then in the Middle Ages, we have the dragons in the underground lakes, whose fighting upsets Uther Pendragon's tower, as revealed by Merlin from the Historia Regum Britannia. And then the Golden Legend is the one that talks about St. George.
St.
That
George.
was 1260.
Who apparently was not from Great Britain.
Woo!
Yeah, Stephen dropped a little video in the Slack today that if you listen to it, the St. George was actually from Cappadocia, which was not England. I'll profess my ignorance here in a minute, but it's a Roman province near, I think, Yugoslavia, present-day Yugoslavia, or that area.
Cappadocia?
I think.
It's in Turkey.
Turkey. Okay.
St. George, man. I don't like him even more now. Yeah, boo on St. George. What do you mean in the stream? We don't like St. George. So we have that with Merlin. We have the St. George dragon. Oh, here, this is for Vissy. Melusine, a beautiful woman who seems faithful but refuses to take communion in church. When confronted, she turns into a dragon and flees. She has been depicted in Russian art of the 18th century as a woman's head on a dragon's body. And this happened in 1312. And this was from a book by Jacques de Longuyon, Les Veaux du Pain.
Very good.
I did it. I said a French thing. I feel better about my butchering every other thing.
So is it a French story, or is it from Russia, or
it's a Russian story?
Catholic kind of.
It's a Russian story, but this guy Jacques de
Longuyon.
He wrote, yeah, long yarn. He wrote
long yarn voice.
There's also an early modern history by Marie Catherine d'Aulnay, The Green Serpent. She wrote that in 1698. A handsome king turned into a green dragon by enchantment. So another enchantment myth. We've got Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, 1604, the dragon that draws Faustus's chariot. He's there. So it's just amazing. Like I picked out like my favorites from pop culture to put in here, or ones that I thought were super.
Every 100 years or so, you get a brand new incarnation or retelling or refurbishment of these myths or these tales of dragons. You know,
yeah,
it's just every generation's storytelling. Dragons are going to be with us. Dragons are going to be with us till the end.
Yeah, they're magical, chaotic beasts. We've got
space dragons.
Space dragons. They have space dragons in WoW, World of Warcraft, Nether Dragon.
There was a really, really bad sci-fi show in the 80s called Buck Rogers. And the starship from the enemy people always looked like this flying space dragon. It was the best thing about the show was to see this space dragon coming up, spaceship dragon.
That's amazing.
That's so cool, right?
That's amazing. In Yu-Gi-Oh, one of my favorite cartoons, my favorite character Kaiba has a blue eyes white dragon. Plain flex. Am I right? Butter started talking about him, so now he's being a stick and trying to get my attention. 19th century, we have Lewis Carroll's The Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
And The Looking Glass, 1871. The Jabberwock, a fearsome dragon-like beast with jaws that bite, claws that catch, and eyes of flame. We have Kenneth Graham's The Reluctant Dragon, 1898, a dragon who does not want to act like a dragon. There's also a kid's book called The Popcorn Dragon that came out in like the 90s that was really, really cute, who was a dragon that didn't want to scare everybody, so he would just make popcorn. We have Jacob and Willem Grimm's, so the Grimm brothers, two brothers, yeah. 1812, a seven-headed dragon who demands maidens in one of their tales.
Why do they want maidens?
I've never figured that out.
I want to hang out with the cool chicks.
I would want to hang out with a dragon, but I mean, the maiden thing kind of.
Yeah, you think of it as like a bad thing, like, oh, we got to pull out the lottery. Who's got to go to be with the dragon? Who are we going to send this time? I'd be like, pull my name, pull my name. I want to go hang out with the dragon. I can talk to him. We can be bros. You know, we can get along. I'll bring him like chicken or something. Well,
Yeah, I'll bring him a little snack. We can nettles this shit.
yeah, we can do this. Sheep stealer that thing.
Sheep stealer that thing. Another dragon in pop culture, since Micah brought it up. Shenron in Dragon Ball Z. He is massive and he controls the Dragon Balls, and he's super cool. Really badass guy. Let's see, we've got C.S. Lewis's dragon, which this I thought was interesting to other people who like Game of Thrones, which is probably all of us. C.S. Lewis, The Pilgrim's Regress, 1933, The Cold Northern Dragon, slain by John, and The Hot Southern Dragon, slain by Virtue. The Northern Dragon is so greedy that his anxiety for his gold hardly lets him sleep. He recalls eating his wife, saying, "Worm grows not to dragon till he eats worm." A loose translation of the Latin saying, "Serpens nisi serpentem cum derit non fit Draco." The guide explains that the dragons always live alone because they have become dragons by eating their own kind. Lewis reiterates this notion of the cannibalistic dragons in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which is book 3 of Chronicles of Narnia. So that's really interesting because that almost reminds me of a Wendigo, which is a native Canadian myth mainly, where basically when people would freeze to death in these terrible cultures and the only food was dead people, they believed if they ate that they would turn into a Wendigo, which is a horrifying creature that
you're never able to satisfy the hunger.
Yeah, never. Constantly eat.
Yeah, it's just a cursed life.
Yes,
but it's kind of interesting there. He's talking about the cannibalistic dragons. Thank you, Aswaf reference.
Also, the hot dragon and the cold dragon, the north and the south. I thought that was interesting.
But that's like, in a way, the dragon eating its own tail.
Yeah, it's like Ouroboros almost.
Another Ouroboros.
Since it's C.S. Lewis, I'm almost like, is he just like throwing in cannibalism as like, you know, like a bad thing, an anti-Christian thing? You know what I mean?
I think it is, because he kind of lays the mythology on fairly quick. Like, you know, hey, dude, I mean, Christian mythology is based, your sacrament is based on cannibalism.
Well, yeah, that too. I didn't even think about that. But his dragons are not good dragons, so
it's the good evil thing, and his work is pretty heavily layered over, you know, Christian imagery. So the dragons are not going to be great. Yeah,
true. We've got a book called The Ice Dragon that was not written by George R. R. Martin. It was written by Oliver Postgate and Peter Furum in 1962. One of the books in the saga of Noggin the Nog, an ice dragon.
That is the best name
Noggin
ever.
the Nog.
Noggin.
He's an ice dragon who Noggin intends to fight, but instead helps, and they become friends.
Yay, friends! I mean, who wouldn't want to be friends with an ice dragon,
right? I would. I mean, I'm like, man, you know, like, this is very similar to George's Ice Dragon book, I think. The body of Chrysler, Bernie. Oh my gosh.
The body of Chrysler.
Oh, here's another really cool thing. This is for the ladies out there. Ursula K. Le Guin, World of Earthsea, which was written in 1964. The portrayal of dragons undergoes significant changes from book to book. In the original, they resemble Smaug with unbounded greed for hoards of precious jewelry. Later, they grow in stature and ability to become virtual demigods who speak the language of creation as their mother tongue. Later still, it is revealed that they always share an ancestry with humanity, and that some rare humans, always women, can change into dragons at will, or they may be considered as dragons who can take human form at will. In contrast to the dragons of C.S. Lewis's fictions, the dragons of Earthsea do not eat each other. Like Tolkien's Smaug, they are susceptible to drowning. So that's cool. That's female shapeshifters. Badass. That's Ursula K. Le Guin, if anybody wants to check that out.
That's because women have that chaos energy inside us.
Yes. Also, Witcher. Yeah, we're also creators. Like we give
Right.
life, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
It comes from this primordial myth of where things come from. Women give life. Yeah.
It makes sense, obviously.
So also, I can't say the name of the guy who wrote The Witcher. Can you say his name? It's like
Oh,
Andrzej Sapkowski. In the novel Sword of Destiny in 1992, we have Villain Tree Ten Mirth, the Golden Dragon. He's an intelligent, shape-shifting creature, the only dragon among other dragons, green, black, red, white, that can tolerate humans and even take their form. He is also known as Borsch, 3 Jackdaws in his human form. So you guys have seen Witcher.
yes.
He in canon is a
Episode
shapeshifter.
was brilliant. I
Yes.
love that episode. So, and especially, you don't know that he is a dragon in human form.
Yeah, I love the way they did that.
It was a great reveal when, he's just like, oh, I'm just, I'm sacrificing it's fine.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's coming back. That's the dragon. I'm like, that's the dragon. Like, as soon as he said something like, when he was talking to Gerald at the campfire, and he's like, golden dragons. I'm like, bitch, that's a golden dragon. He
Really?
Yeah.
It's exposition.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good in the way that it was, the reveal on that. But that is, the dragon shapeshifters. That is just a more humanizing, I guess, development in, the dragon culture, the dragon mythology, is that, okay, now we're closer together now, where before in the beginning we're so far apart. And then now they're just interchangeable.
Yeah. And I also think in more modern times, it's more believable from the author's standpoint to have a shape-shifting dragon, to make that dragon into more of a character with powers. But I also like how Sapkowski made Borsch the last gold dragon and gave him kind of like a real story. He wasn't just an enemy or a villain or a rando.
Right. No, he was just like you say, he was the last of his kind, and
exactly
to protect his children, the next generation. So and that's the thing, as magic dies in the world, so do dragons. It's just
always back to Aswath.
Always back to Aswath.
Always back to Aswath.
Or even further, that's kind of been a thing, a recurring thing, as magic leaves the world, because we live in a world so devoid of the fantastic, the phenomenal, that as it leaves the world, when the last dragon goes, that's the last of the magic.
That's yep. Steven in chat asked what the best CGI dragon is. What's your favorite? Or the best?
Well, I didn't like certain ones, but
which ones didn't you like?
I didn't really like the way they did Smog.
Me neither. Smog was so important to me because I also read The Hobbit as like a little kid. So Smog being
Pete's dragon, best dragon. There you go.
It's good.
I wanted an invisible friend dragon when I was like 10 years old. I'm like, everybody else wanted a pony. I wanted my invisible Pete's dragon friend.
Yes. Perfect. That's beautiful. I love that's the same for me, honestly. I love Pete's dragon. I would say, in my opinion, I think the Game of Thrones dragons are
they were awesome.
I know the kind of work that goes into doing that. I was kind of pissed off during season 7 when they weren't showing the colors of the dragons very well, but I realized that they did that, spoiler alert, because they were going to kill Viserion, and they didn't want us to know which one died originally, if it was Viserion, Rhaegal, or Drogo. Drogon.
We kind of knew it wasn't Drogon, though.
We knew it wasn't Drogon, but it could have been Viserion or Rhaegal. And I know that's exactly why they did it. But I would say my favorite one is Alduin, the Black Dragon from the Skyrim series. I think his design is awesome. It's so cool. There's also the leader of the Greybeards, which is kind of like the opposing force in Skyrim. I'm trying to find past my 10,000 pages of Pern what his name is. Parthurnax. That's it. Parthurnax. He's called the Old One by the other Dov and is the leader of the Greybeards. He served as Alduin's lieutenant during the Dragon War in the Meretic era, during which he was said to have committed and witnessed unspeakable atrocities against mankind. Wait, that's not the right one.
I'm just nodding along because I don't know anything about Skyrim.
Oh, that's okay. There is a dragon who is like on top of a mountain in Skyrim, and he's the leader of the Grey Ones.
Mhm.
Maybe Parathronax. Yeah, maybe chat knows what I mean if they know the games. I never finished Skyrim. I just would always restart and like play through 1,000 times up to a certain part, and then not want to kill the dragons. I never killed the dragons, guys. I didn't want to kill Alduin. Sorry, didn't want to do it. But I enjoyed the heck out of that game. And the lady who made the beer that tasted like junipers.
What did you think of the Harry Potter dragons?
I thought they were good. I'd have to go back and rewatch them with my now 3.
I mean, I really like little baby Norbert.
Yeah, Norbert was precious.
Norbert, I mean, of course, it's little and it's a pet. And I really, truly understand Hagrid's love and want for a baby dragon.
I'm like Hagrid, but the small version, the tiny version of Hagrid. Like he's my Harry Potter spirit animal, I would say. Right. Like not a good wizard. Like that would be me.
But you're constantly bringing home critters to fix them up and take care of them, and your little menagerie back there is a testament to your good and noble heart.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at the Harry Potter dragons now. They were okay. I thought they were really well done. The ones that I hated the way they did Borsch on Witcher. I thought that was awful. That looked like a worse Pernese dragon in my eyes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I just didn't like it.
Well, I mean, they didn't have like a hugest budget to work with. I know. But at least they showed us dragons. And Star Wars showed us dragons too. We had the dragon attack on the Mandalorian, which was very cool. The night on I think it was episode 6 or 7? 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dragon attack that in the middle of the night, which was very, very cool.
Yes.
Never thought you'd see dragons in Star Wars, right?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I was like, oh, Star Wars dragons. I still love the scene in season 8 with the dragon battle in the sky. I thought that was the most beautiful moment of there's a lot of beautiful moments in that episode, but that was just like, oh my god, we finally get to see a dragon battle. Oh my god, I've waited 15 million years for this. I thought that was well done. Man.
Yeah. About time. Are you talking about the Long Night episode?
Yes, the Long Night, episode 3. Or the Battle of Winterfell.
Yeah, the scene where they are both above the clouds in the storm with just the lighting, and even though it was dark, but even with all like the lighting behind it, it was just so freaking beautiful when they popped up above the clouds, and then there was the moon.
With the moon, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
That was just, there's a lot of things that's one of the things to like.
Yeah. Steven is schooling me in my Skyrim knowledge, which I'm just learning is really lacking. I did my best, Steven. I got him in there for you.
At least we got the reference in. So yeah, I mean, it's pervaded everything. Now it's in. You can't go to a bookstore. You can't pop on, a children's program. It's everywhere. It's pervasive. Dragons are now like part of our family, part of our friends. Yeah, our mascots, our passions, our love, our favorite TV shows. They're
just everything.
They have proliferated as magic has gone out of the world. Dragons have gone into other forms too. They will always be with us.
Yeah.
So here be dragons, y'all.
Here
Everywhere.
be dragons. By two big dragon fans talking about dragons.
So, final thoughts. Any questions from the
Anything
any questions from the chat or
anything that you guys wanted me to clarify or Nessie to clarify? Oh, dragon tails, dragon tails. Dragon tails. I'm seeing the vine in my head of that kid dancing to it right now. That's my favorite, one of my favorite vines.
you and your vines. I mean, come on, even Barney. Yeah, you might say he's a dinosaur, a purple dinosaur. No, he's a dragon. He's babysitting your kids all day.
Yeah, he's magic. He's magic. He's a magic dinosaur, so therefore he is a dragon.
He's a dragon.
If a hot dog can be a dragon, Barney can be
Barney is a dragon. Oh, a purple dragon. That would be gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Sanri. Purple dragon.
Oh, yeah. I've made purple dragons before. I used to be on this website that was basically just breeding and hatching dragons. And the genetics were involved and stuff. And it was just a little hobby pet site. And I had so many beautiful purple and black ones. Oh, man. And all of them had pairs of horns. And this is in like 2010. I bought antlers set for each of them because you could dress them up. It was the best.
It's like Build a Dragon Workshop.
Yeah. It's called Flight Rising. Yeah.
So Aaron asks, would like to know your favorite dragons in all of myth or fiction.
Favorite Aswaf dragon, Nessie.
Favorite Aswaf dragon. Oh my gosh, is Silverwing. I love her. I just love her. I love that after the dance, when all the other dragons died in war or violence, and after her mate died, she just retired to the island in the middle of Rose Lake and just lived out the rest of her life in peace. I just think that is just, it's sad, but it just hits me right in the feels.
Yeah, seriously. My favorite Aswaf dragon, the obvious answer is Balerion, but my second favorite is Melee's, the Red Queen. She's my girl. She is my girl. And she, of course, was written by Rhaenys, the queen who never was, who, as everybody knows, I have a soft spot for, Dany and her and people who have to fight and struggle and work hard. And I just love also the title, and Tessarion, the Blue Queen. And like all the dragons have titles in Aswaf are really interesting to me because I know for a fact that George really doesn't pay that much attention to colors or details like that. And because I'm an artist, I'm very oriented and drawn, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to know which one's which.
Hashtag what color is Vhagar?
Pale. Aziz and Ashea were talking to George R. R. Martin in Ireland at Worldcon, I believe. Can't remember exactly. Aziz got up to leave. He had asked the question at a convention way earlier, and George said, I answered that in a book. And Shea said, no, you did not at this current conversation. And after thinking, he looks to his assistant and goes, look it up, like look in the extended works and see if you can find it. But Vhagar was pale, and that's all he could say about it. So pale can mean anything from light pink to light green to light gray to, pale to me means like pale like a death horse. Like death. That's what it means to me, but I don't know.
It could be grayish. Yeah.
I don't believe she's white.
I see Vhagar as like the old death from above incarnation of death. She was ridden by Viseria, who's death from above.
Yeah, Visenya was a badass. A favorite dragon from just anything else? You said Pete's dragon earlier?
Yeah, Pete's dragon is cool. Norbert is cool. All dragons are cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them.
I love them all so much. It's so hard to pick a favorite.
And of course, like my favorite Pernese dragon was the little white dragon.
Ruth.
Ruth was like my favorite because she was obviously the outcast, the one that was different, the one that, you know, they were like, just push her in the corner and let her die. And I'm like, no, save her.
Yeah. Actually, Ruth is a boy.
Okay, Ruth is a boy.
Yeah, I was corrected one time when I said Ruth was a girl. I always thought she was a girl, but apparently that Ruth hatched. You remember how he had to like rip open the egg?
Yeah, to get her out, get it out.
Yeah, the Pyrenees dragons, it is a whole thing that we could go on about for hours about colors and hierarchy of colors and dragon society and sexuality tied to dragons and mating flights and things like that. But my favorite Pyrenees dragon was Big Bronze Boy.
Mm-hmm.
What is his name again? Meneth? I think it's like MMENTH or something like that. It's Meneth. I can't find it right now in the document. Oh, yeah. Meneth. Yeah, and he's a big old boy. I like him.
All right. And
Yeah.
you know, yes, Micah, both of us have seen and cried over Dragonheart umpteen million times.
Yeah. I played the video game. I had the coloring book. You know.
All right. Best dragon name.
My Apep. Also my favorite world myth dragon. Actually, it's not a very good dragon name. I think. But what do you think? I'm going to think about it.
Jormungandr's fairly is an epic name.
It's a very epic name.
Yeah.
I like Tiamat. I like Damballa. I like Quetzalcoatl. Nidhogg. Man.
Norbert, not the best name.
What is?
Norbert, not the best name.
Norbert, not the best name. No. Some of the Japanese words for dragons, like Ryu, who the Street Fighter character, Ryu literally means dragon in Japanese. That's pretty cool. Naga, great dragon name.
Oh yeah.
Apala, the Naga King. Sorry, that's Apalala, the Naga King. It's a good one. Man, there's so many good ones. Oh, and Toothless. Yeah, it's a funny story about
and Celagon the Black. That is an awesome.
Yeah, that's an awesome name. Toothless from funny story about How to Train Your Dragon. I, Mallory Dorn, won the How to Train Your Dragon animation contest when I was a junior or junior in college. So I was flown out to LA with my boyfriend of the time, my brother, and my best friend, Emily, who I talk about all the time, Ghost Green on Twitter. And basically DreamWorks paid for us to stay in the Hollywood Universal, the Hilton and the Universal Studios area, and gave us like a bunch of gift cards with a bunch of money so we could entertain ourselves and put us on the red carpet for the premiere. So I was like 6 feet away from Gerard Butler, like drooling. The funniest part of it was I ran into Jack Black physically, like tripped into him when we were released to go out. I recently posted this on Twitter, but
that is a standard move right there.
Yeah, I fell into him like I fell into the bush earlier, I was telling you. So yes, these bruises are from falling into a bush. No one's hurting me, don't worry. I'm just dumb.
Yeah. I mean, he plays Kung Fu Panda, so I mean he kind of understands the whole klutzy kind of vibe.
Oh yeah, that's very true. I just ran from him. He had like a dirty old Walmart dragon t-shirt on. And I was just like, God, I love Jack Black so much. He's me if I was a man. Same energy.
Same energy, yeah. Okay. Well, guys, I mean, we could probably go on for another 6 hours and all, but I think we're going to have to pack it in. Hi. Oh, did Joe Magician pop in the chat?
Oh, thanks for coming, Matt.
Thanks.
Joe likes Puff the Magic Dragon who lives by the sea
and frolics in the autumn in the land called Honolulu. Yeah, no, I don't know it. I don't know that song at all.
No. What song?
Mm-mm.
What?
What?
I said what? All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on and letting me do this. I hope the chat enjoyed this and it wasn't just like fact. But I just wanted to gush about dragons and how much I love them. And Nessie enabled me, and I know she loves dragons just as much as me, if not more. I will challenge you on that, though.
Maybe longer.
Longer. Okay, that's perfect.
You can't fight me on that.
I can't. Unfortunately, I am your daughter.
We had the same. We were the little kids who went to the library when we were like in kindergarten and watched all the films that they had on dinosaurs.
Yep, I did that. And dragons.
And dragons. And whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is my daughter.
Yep.
I birthed her. So, I created this chaos right here.
Yes, good job using your primordial ooze and Tiamat powers there. And shout out to all the other mother creator dragons.
Yes, for our primordial ooze. And on that note, okay, Sandra, you got anything you're gonna do coming up? Any creative stuff? You got artwork? What you got going on, girl?
Well, eventually my 2 new t-shirts, the Targaryen and the Greyjoy shirts, will be launched. I'm hoping to get them out by July. It's been a bit of a process finding a new shirt printer that I can rely on because my other guy,
it is, a pandemic thing.
Yeah, and that is happening, and it's affecting the postal service, and I ship everything via USPS, but those will be up for pre-orders maybe late June, and then I'm hoping to be able to deliver them within 2 weeks of being ordered. So that's my biggest thing I have going on right now. I'm really overloaded at work, and we're starting to get to a point where we're finishing up. I'm working on Archer right now. Yes, the TV spy show. So we're finishing that up, but pretty soon we're going to lighten up here, and I'll be able to get back to, I'm fully loaded on commissions. So please, I beg you, I have a really hard time.
Yeah,
I have a really hard time saying no to people. So I really beg you, please grant me this courtesy of not asking me for any more work right now because I am fully loaded and I have a lot of stuff to get through. But yeah, my website is MalloryDorn.com. That's where all my artwork is. Sanrixian.com is going to get an overhaul. It's in the description. Sanrixian.com is going to get an overhaul as when I launch the shirt, so the site's a little prettier. And I'm Sanrixian everywhere. Come find me. You know where I live. And thanks again.
Awesome. Great. Look, I mean, I was, I want that. I want those shirts. I need more shirts. I'm wearing this one. I'm like, I am babying this shirt, Sanri. I am babying this shirt.
It is held up really well. Another problem and another reason I'm going with a different printer is because almost a batch, like a group that I don't know which ones they are, of my Night's Watch shirts just faded out like crazy. Yeah, you, Steven, B-Word, just a whole bunch of people. And I feel so guilty because, and that I took a hit financially on that. So
I know that was a bad deal. I love that shirt, by the way. I treasure that shirt. I baby, if you think I baby this shirt, I really baby that shirt. It doesn't ever get, it's hand washed. It's hung up to dry. I'm holding on, girl. I'm holding on to it.
Sam of the Rainbow Guard bought a one from this new printer that I tried out, and they have had it for over a year, and it looks brand new. So I have faith in this new printer, you guys.
All right. Awesome.
And also, if you do have a Night's Watch shirt that is damaged and you're seeing this, just message me anywhere, and I will replace it for the cost of shipping. So. Just wanted to, sorry to tag that on the end, but I just wanted
That's to. Okay, because you're just that awesome.
Yeah, I care.
You care. You're very, very, very conscientious about your work, and you don't want your work to be out there looking like crap.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's representing you, and yeah. So okay, well, I've got a few irons in the fire, and if you notice the on the title card, it was the inaugural. Nessie's Magical Menagerie, and I mean, we got to kick it off with the big daddy of them all, is dragons. But oh yes, a pterodactyl is a dragon.
There's a rag doll, and he's on his little egg. I'm really bad with the camera.
Oh, it's Rhaegal.
And he's fully adjustable too, which is really cool.
That's great.
So yeah, what do you have coming up?
Okay, so I'm trying to stick with a regular streaming day. The time, well, I mean, we had to adjust the time because time zones suck, and I'm really bad at that. But I usually stream a little bit earlier, but it was worth it to me to have Sanri come on here. So if she had wanted to stream at midnight, I'd have said, "All right, let me chug some coffee. We can do this."
Thank you. I work until 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm not usually available for weeknight streams until after that. So it was very kind of you to work around for me.
Absolutely. Like I said, I would have you on. I would stream at midnight if I could have you on here. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to have my good buddies Emma and Bron Steris are going to come on, and we're going to finally have the stream that was promised. We all did a panel last year at Con of Thrones, and afterwards we all said, "Oh, I wish we had more time. We never had enough time, and people didn't get to see it, and the audio was bad." And of course, you can't compress something like 40 minutes in a panel is just you're barely covering, you're hitting the high spot, so to speak. So we're going to do Con of Thrones redo. Part two, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. Magical Menagerie.
Okay. Yeah. Part
that
two.
Didn't work.
I got the spirit of it.
Yeah.
Magical Menagerie Boogaloo Part 2 is
nailed it. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna cover Emma's specialty is unicorns. You want to know anything about a unicorn, you just message her because she has exhaustively researched them.
And unicorns.
Unicorns. Unicorns.
Yeah. One down here. Go on. And so what's Brownie going to talk about?
Brownie is going to redo his laws of the forestry, which basically has to do with being caught red-handed. But it has to do with the hunting deer and being caught red-handed.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, I'm going to be presenting my Oliphants, which... For those, it's kind of like it's kind of made it into like Tolkien literature. The Oliphants were those big giant war elephants that they had, but Oliphants have been around in literature for years and years and years. It's just kind of like a heraldic type name for an elephant, but also it has very magical qualities as well. So that's going to be part 2. And then probably 2 weeks after that, because I do like an every other week cycle. I'm hoping to have Amy come on, and we're going to talk all about Demon Monkey Kings and magical monkeys.
Oh my God, that's going to be so
monkeys
fun.
If anybody knows me, I love monkeys. Monkeys are like my favorite little critter. Well, one of my favorite critters. It's not maybe my favorite critter, but it is one of my. Monkeys are very close to my heart. So, yeah, we're gonna be talking about that. After that, we'll see. But yeah. So that's what's coming up on my channel.
That's so exciting. Do you want to end on a Gildan quote?
Sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, scrolling through this entire document. Oh my God. Okay. So, we shall not pretend to any understanding of the bond between dragon and dragon rider. Wiser heads have pondered that mystery for centuries. We do know, however, that dragons are not horses to be ridden by any man who throws a saddle on their back. And also, who can know the heart of a dragon?
Oh, a dragon is not a slave.
A dragon is not a slave.
But it is a duck.
But it is a duck
and a hot dog. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you guys all for coming out. This has been fun. So fun.
And thank you, Sanri. I'm just so glad that we had a chance. I just wanted to unleash the dragons.
You did. You unleashed me.
So thanks for coming. Thanks, guys, for coming and listening to us prattle on for all this time. I appreciate each and every one of you who shows up for one of these streams. You're just my friends. And I cherish every one of you. So Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you in another 2 weeks. So bye.
Thanks.